So I'm like, I'm, I'm trying to remember where I first met Seon, and I blank. But he's the type of personality that everybody loves, because he was just so genuine. And when we would have, I can specifically remember one conversation we had where we just really got deep. He just kept it so real and was so vulnerable at the same time, so strong at the same time, just a good dude. And he obviously would be the one to kick off this whole series for me, because he's just that type of a personality that I don't have to speak to often at all. But when we do speak, it's like monumental. It's literally things I needed to hear or wanted to hear. And he's just, well, you know what? Listen to the episode and judge for yourself. But this is In Your Atmosphere, and this is episode 1. Enjoy. Each of us has a figurative atmosphere. Those individuals we choose to spend our time with. But we need to ask ourselves, are those people willing to celebrate with us on our best day and stand with us on our worst day? Have they provided you with life lessons that can serve as a protection for you? My atmosphere is full of those whom I choose to surround myself with, because they make me a better person. My name is Donovan Woods, and the purpose of this podcast is to shine light on some of their stories. I've personally either overcome challenges or I'm continuing to endure based on what I've learned from each and every one of them. Welcome to In Your Atmosphere. So Seon, I am so glad to tell you that this little project I'm doing, you are the first guest I'm having. And I appreciate you taking time. I know you're a father, you're a husband, and I'm only a husband. I think fathers are a whole other level of dedication to time. So I appreciate you cutting out some for me a little bit.
You're welcome, man. I'm glad to be your first guest. I'm actually honored, man. So thank you for having me.
So you say that, and maybe you won't think that at the end of this. Maybe you'll kind of think like, man, why in the world did I do this? But I hope that's not the case. I hope that what we talk about actually is beneficial for other people. So let me ask you this. Why do you think I chose you to be on this podcast series?
Whoa, that's the question.
See, there it is. There it is. Yeah,
that's the question. Why I think you chose me is because we don't talk every day. We don't talk every week. We could talk once, whenever it is that occurrence is. It's always genuine. It's from the heart. And we have made that connection years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you chose me because you feel maybe that there's things I have to share that you would want others to hear, and you value me or anyone that comes on your podcast. You have a high value for people's input, and you really want people to share their experiences with others. You collectively do a really good job of that. So I think you chose me because you want to hear my life and how maybe some things I've been through can help other people.
You're almost right. So that'll be the benefit of it. I do believe that'll be the benefit, but actually I chose you for a different reason, slightly different. And the reason is I like genuine people. The second is, like you said, we don't talk often. We're not like, I don't know how to get to your house. I'd have to ask you, how do I get there? So we're not like this tight knit best of friends things. But the first time I met you, I want to say it was probably through I'm going to just guess it was probably Eric Missick, just a common friend. And from day one, you treated me as if I'd known you forever. You were down to earth in the way you kind of interacted with all levels of people, whether they were, older white man, younger little kid, single white female, black female, married woman, elderly. You treated them all the same, and they treated you the same, which meant that you kind of gave them a sense of comfort, and you kind of gave them a sense that you were a humble person and they could be themselves. whatever that is. It might not be the kind of people everyone likes, but you've made them believe that you, and I'm not saying you faking it, but you genuinely make them feel wanted. So you did that for me, and had no reason for you to do that. I gave you nothing. In fact, when most people meet me, they think I'm a little arrogant or stuck up. So that's not the case, but still, you didn't care. You kind of came as if I was a cool dude and rolled with it. So it's that.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, you would always hit me up on LinkedIn or you would either notice something I posted, or when you would speak to me, you would talk about like admiring something. And that is something that men do not do. Men find it hard to give another man a compliment, especially, I'm not saying this is your case, but especially if it's something that we admire, that we want to be like, to actually acknowledge it to them. That's huge. So I appreciate the fact that you are humble enough to give praise, not expecting it back, and to admit, man, I like that. I like that, what you're doing. And it's not something that you're just 100% sincere with it. And I think more people could benefit, especially as men, being honest about something we admire instead of it turning into a feeling of jealousy or hate. And then you start to kind of go, well, that person's this way or that way. But it's all started from you actually, it caught your eye. So that's the reason. And I'm going to kind of transition that into that question of self-confidence. And as a man, let's be honest, as a Black man as well, as a husband and a father, what is that, when I say self-confidence, what does that mean to you? What comes to mind for you?
I think of self-confidence when it comes to being a man. Um, you have to carry yourself in a way that earns people's respect. Like self-confidence is how you carry yourself. What is your disposition? What is your automatic reflexive
Mhm.
disposition is? I really try to make sure like my base is always with love, man. Like self-confidence in myself really that's a really beautiful question. Like self-confidence is more or less as a man to really take a step back and know and acknowledge who you are, what you bring to any
Mhm.
relationship, any type of friendship, any type of interaction with somebody, and just know your base is going to be
Mhm.
genuine. So like I don't know, self that's such a I can go on and on about it because it's important to have to know who you are as a
Now,
person. That's probably the most important thing, to know who you
okay,
are and what you
okay.
bring.
And as you say that, I'm going to ask you, and you don't have to be 100% honest, but I'm going to ask you this. Have you always had it? Have you always had self-confidence in yourself?
No, no. Um, when I was younger, I had certain I had pimples and chipped tooth and all these like growing
Right.
pains of being a teenager, like that really like used to make
Mhm.
me feel some type of way. Like, I wasn't confident in myself for
Mhm.
years, man. I remember my brother, I used to think like, man, something's wrong with my teeth. I can't, I couldn't get past that. My brother's like, he was older than me, 6 years older. He said to me, man, there's so many
Right.
people with messed up teeth. Don't feel like don't let that bother you. There's so many people with jacked up teeth out here. Your teeth are perfectly fine. And I was just like, okay, like I didn't see it. I only had it in my vantage point. I couldn't get past how I felt about myself. But the physical part of it was probably the longest journey
Hmm.
in self-confidence, but I would mask it.
Yep. Yep.
I would literally mask it. I would literally mask it. I would wear things and make myself feel better, put on
Right.
nice looking clothes, not expensive, but nice looking clothes to build my confidence. That's something I use to mask some of my physical
Okay. Well,
defects at the
you call them
time.
defects, and I know what you mean,
Better way
because
of putting it.
I had until recently, maybe the last 2, 3 years, I had a gap, front two teeth, and it didn't always have it. Got braces as a
Yeah.
teenager, and then didn't wear my retainer, so they got even more pronounced. And then finally, it was due to
God.
not having enough self-confidence. That physical meant a lot to me. And I'm not going to say it still doesn't, but it meant
Right.
who I was and what I found. And it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit when I got my braces off and I had my teeth were all straight and everything. And I remember for like 3 months later,
Yeah.
someone came up to me that I saw every single day at work. And she was like, wait, did you get your braces off? And it kind of hit me kind of hard, like, dag, but I mean, really? This is like for 3 months? And it also clicked a little bit that
Yeah.
it's not about me all the time.
Yeah.
As I'm talking to someone, they're probably in their own head,
Right.
thinking about what they look like, how they sound, does their breath stink, is their hair okay? Whereas I'm thinking the same thing about different things. And I kind of started to think, well, dag, I mean, I'm glad I got the braces, but it didn't change that person's view or value of me. So as a young man, now
Yeah, that's important.
I'm assuming you're a little over 30 now. So,
Yes.
okay. All right. How have you taken that? How have you used whatever you've learned over the years when you were single and then as your early marriage and then now? Have you seen in yourself a personal growth as it relates to your own view of yourself and even how it affects how you look at other people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was, my friends would tell you, people I've grown up with, I was always a jokester. I was always the funny guy. And a lot of things jokesters do, they laugh at things that sometimes they want to take away attention from themselves.
Yep.
And I did that for many years, many years. I just, I did it so naturally, I didn't realize, to be honest, that in some instances I was being a jerk.
Hmm.
In some instances I was, because I used to, back in the day, like in joking format, everybody laughing. Older Sion can really analyze it better. But back then I joked on people, and we laughed and joked with each other. It was playful fun.
Right.
But when I really think about it, I was hurting sometimes people's feelings and not really putting myself in their shoes to be like, hey, like that maybe it's not building them up
Right.
when the joke is over.
Right.
You know, it's like maybe they are. I might joke with them, and maybe it might hit them in a way like, dang, okay, like I do like I do feel some type of way about that after the fact, you know. And it wasn't until I was older that it was like, man, like I really could have said things that really made people feel some type of way. So now for myself and growing up and being and maturing, like I now how I view others, it's I don't view the physical body as much
Hmm.
anymore. I'm more into interaction.
Hmm.
Um, Getting to know somebody. That's what motivates me now. Like I see people, regardless of color, regardless of how they look, and I have a base. I have a base for every person. Like people come into my place of employment, and I say, "Hello, hey, how are
Right.
you?" And these are random strangers, and sometimes like people they would not really like
Right.
acknowledge me, and but then they would see like one of my employees, which might be an older white man, and they would go to him and get
Right.
acknowledged. And I'm like, okay, like maybe they, I hope it's the fact that they didn't
Right.
hear me, because I have no, I
You
have
don't assume that
no,
they have evil intent. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna come into it and be like, hey, how are you? Like, I'm not gonna look at how you look at all, your physical, whatever color you are, however your body, whatever looks. I don't care about that. I just want the human
Right.
interaction. And that's what I look for first. And when I don't get it back, sometimes it makes me draw back and be like, well, all right, this is an older white person I'm talking to. I'm a young black guy. Do they not like, does he think I'm one of the younger generation doesn't really care
Right.
about
Right.
older people? Like,
It's all
I know
it's
there's a
all
lot of
here. He
things
hasn't
going,
said a
yeah,
word.
yeah, yeah.
It's
It draws me back. Like, I'm I'm not supporting the
Right,
BLM.
right,
Like,
right.
just to be honest with you, I'm not like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to have a human interaction. So, a lot of times, like that is a it draws me back when I don't get it reciprocated. I know what I bring. I know the sincereness of how I approach people, but it makes me second guess and then have a my base now becomes kind of like uneven when I'm like, what are they thinking about as I'm interacting with them? Because I'm reading your body language. Doesn't look like you want to talk to me
Now, see,
at
that's
times, so I can really
I
read
want to come
into
back
that.
to that in a little bit, and I want to ask.
Okay,
I'm going to add a twist to that
okay,
question based on what you said, but I'm going to add in
okay,
my story, so you're not the only one kind of sharing. And when you talked about making fun of people, or just
right,
jumping in on it, or even whatever it was, and it came
yeah,
across as harmless, and then maybe had hurt someone. Mine was more private. Mine was in how I viewed Black people. Like growing up in
mm,
Hampton Roads area till I was about 11 or 12 years old, mostly everyone I knew was Black. There were a few white, there were a few maybe
yeah,
Filipino, but mostly everyone I knew was Black. And then I came up to Northern Virginia, Springfield area, and in the early 90s, it wasn't like it is now. It was pretty much predominantly white. And I was one of only two or three
hmm,
like in the school that were Black. So I allowed it to become a
wow,
thing of they're better than me. They have a bigger house. Most people that I saw in those situations were not Black. They went to college. They got the college they wanted to go to. They got the car they wanted. They were doing this. And it became a thing of in my 20s, either how I carried myself, the jokes I would make. It was really about my own insecurities, but I would say things like really stupid things like if I saw someone that didn't have a lot, I would say it's their fault. Like
hmm,
pull yourself up. Like come on. Like look at Oprah. Look
hmm,
at Jay-Z. And it took us actually a coworker over the last 10 years broke it down for me. She kind of broke me down a little bit, and she was like, "That's like the 0.1% of all minorities are Oprah and Michael Jordan and Jay-Z." She's
hmm,
like, "If you
right,
don't have
right.
bootstraps, no
I
matter
mean,
what race you are,
that's
but if
correct.
you're economically you don't have bootstraps to even
Right.
pull up, what are you supposed to do?" And it took that response back for me to kind of look at what I felt as an insecurity of myself to be like, I gotta flip this. I gotta flip this
Hmm.
insecurity. One, change how I view other people, and also realize I was a jerk. I was I won't say I was a racist, but I definitely
Yeah,
would look down on. And it
yeah.
stung a little bit to kind of look at who I was. But now I'm going to turn it back to you
Hmm.
because, as you said, you had this personal growth, but at the same time, you had this baseline. I want to talk about your son. And let's put
Okay,
him in that situation 10 years from now, 15 years from now.
okay.
And he comes to you with the same feeling, the same scenario. It could be a woman, it could be a man, it could be white, it could be blue, black, whatever. But it's something that's different. And he begins to assume how they feel. What have you learned between then and now, and as you continue to go on, that you can share with him in that scenario?
Now, that's in regards to how like
How you
how
re
you can view someone else. Um,
Right, and more so when you may, let's say for that sample, when someone comes in, you acknowledge
yeah,
them, then maybe they don't respond to you, but they respond to someone else.
gotcha,
What would you tell your son?
gotcha. That's a powerful question. What I would tell my son is now it's funny. I could go many different ways with that thought because it's I like the thoughts in my head right now are spinning. What I would say to my son is if he gets and then do not lose your composure.
Mhm.
You can have the thoughts in your head, but remain consistent. Don't lose your composure. Remain consistent because this person now maybe they're not acknowledging you because they want to see how you're going to react, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you get highlighted in who you are not.
Right.
You know what you stand for. You know how you were raised. To say how someone walks in a room, you acknowledge them. That's point blank. You
Hmm.
acknowledge them. So if they choose to not acknowledge you, just move past it. But definitely don't show that you're upset because the person didn't do it. Because in this day and age, that happens. It
Right.
happens every day.
Right.
So we are as you know, it's funny. I hate to not hate. That's a strong word. I dislike putting the black in front of man because it really like it's it's more pressure when you say a black man.
Right.
It's more pressure. It's more people because there are stereotypes that there's stigmas that are associated with a black man that it's not true. It's
Right.
not every black man. It's
Correct.
not all black people are ghetto.
Correct.
Not all, you know, or whatever. Like, and people who maybe have not grown up around a lot of cultural people, they see what's on the news.
That's all they have.
Yeah, that's all
Hmm.
they have. Oh man, those people are animals.
Hmm.
Those people are ignorant.
Hmm.
Those people are this and that. And it's like, wait a minute. It's not until you grow up in that culture you really would understand us.
Hmm.
So I say that to say, like, telling my son, remain consistent. Do not change your base for someone's negative outreach back
Right.
to you.
Right.
Do not receive that. Acknowledge it as to what happened, but just drop it. Remain consistent and drop it.
So if I
It's not worth it.
if I hear you correctly, um, not to recap what you just said that part, but another way of saying it, would you agree is don't allow, and this may come with your self confidence. This may
Yeah,
come with, your that inner voice in your head telling you one way or the
yeah,
other, and it may come from how someone responds to your kindness.
yeah.
Are you saying it does not matter? It's not about the other person. It's all about you in the sense of how you decide to view yourself, how you decide to react to someone, let's say, that doesn't respond the way you want. Their response shouldn't change who you are or what you think
Not
about
at
yourself.
all. Not at all. That's exactly what I'm saying. Not at all. It should not. It has no bearing on you because you're better than that. You're better than that one little 5-second
Correct.
interaction. Don't let that break you. No way, son. Do not for a second. That's someone who's ignorant. Let that go. But there could be times where the person didn't hear
That's
you.
all it is. Right. Right. Right.
So you don't want to lose your cool in any one of those situations.
So,
You say hello loud enough if the person acknowledges you, or if they don't, you still know you did the right thing by acknowledging and showing respect to the person that's entering a room. It's
yeah.
respect.
So
It's
I'm
respect.
going to sum this up a little bit and get you out of here because, again, you are a family man. But I remember my wife
Yeah,
telling me once I was doing kind of a question and answer thing in my congregation.
yeah,
And I was getting either I was moving too fast or I was kind of getting irritated that people weren't responding to questions. And she told me it might have been a good question, but goodness gracious, give us a chance to actually hear it. You've already developed it in your mind. And as it comes out,
hold on,
it's
baby.
okay. As it comes out, we're just hearing it, just running it through our minds, and you're ready to look for answers. We can't even give us a second to think. And that just kind of what you said, it
Right.
reminds me of that if we don't know what's going on in someone else's life, how they're going to respond to something, how they may feel about something. So I appreciate that response. Now,
Right.
again, last thing I want you to go ahead, get back to your family. Out of everything we spoke about for your daughter and your son, people talk about legacy all the time. Legacy this, I can leave this. And to me, it's not about money or things. What's something, a gift you feel like you can give to your kids?
I think a gift, that's beautiful. Um, I've had several conversations as of late, and a gift that I can give that is beautiful, it's authentic, is how the human interaction, how people are treated. It's kind of like what you said in the intro, man. It really draws me. It drew me back again. I think you have these statements that draw me back. I'm gonna be honest with you. You have statements that really help me to analyze people's
Mm,
interpretation of me because I don't really get a chance to ask people, hey, so how did I make you feel?
Right.
It was just a feeling. It's like I can't say, hey, hold on,
That's
please.
very, very true.
Hold on. Sit down, please. Sit down. Yeah, like that that's that and people leave you feeling some type of way, and it's not until you meet again or that you hear them talk about you to it. Like someone else will come up and said, "Oh yeah, Donnie, I met Donnie. He said he knows you. Oh man, yeah, he's a good guy,
Right.
right?" And then we just talk, and there's like this triangle of communication. But to answer your question, what I can give my kids is, like you said, the way people are treated, the way I want the my last
Yeah.
name means everything to me. My dad taught me that. I wasn't around my dad for a very long time, but that's if there's one thing that's very important to
Hmm.
Fernandes is their last name and how we carry ourselves. So, me being a respectable person in my community, I want to continue to have my children see the way I carry myself and how respectful I am of others, to really have them look and say, man, look at the way my dad carries himself. Because regardless of your, and it's like what you and I discuss, regardless of your whatever economic status you are, it has
Yep.
no bearing on how you should treat people. It has no bearing on it. So for me, that will be something that a gift I want to pass on to my children
Yep.
is how the human interaction, to have respect for people. That's what I want them to know about their dad. Their dad was a respectable person and he earned people's
Facts.
respect by the way he
So I'm going
treated
to end it
people.
on that. There's no other way I can end this any better. Thank you, Seon, for making time for me. Again, I know you're busy, and thank your wife for me as well, and the children. And again, I call this series "In Your Atmosphere," meaning, or my atmosphere, whatever. I got to think about what I'm going to call it now. But no, it's in your atmosphere, and it's because the people I choose to be around, the people I choose to, protect me, people I choose to make me better. I don't have to be best friends where I'm talking and texting every single day, but in those interactions, do they make me a better person? And am I making them a better? Do they challenge me to make them a better person? And bro, you are definitely on that list. And again, thank you for doing this. And I hope you found value in it. And I hope everyone that's listening, you find value as well. And we'll catch you in the next episode of In Your Atmosphere.